Welcome back to another episode of Conducting Parkinson's Conversations. Today I'm speaking with Daphne Bryan. Daphne is the author of two books, Music as Medicine and Parkinson's and the B1 Therapy. An experienced musician and researcher, she explores how music can support neurological health, especially in people with Parkinson's disease, and how therapeutic approaches like high-dose vitamin B can improve quality of life for those affected by the condition. Her work blends scientific insight with practical guidance, drawing on both research and her own lived experience to help readers understand and apply these interventions. Let me first say how appreciative I am for your time and sharing your expertise with me and with those who are following Conducting Parkinson's. I think, as I mentioned to you before, your book, Music as Medicine, really impacted me in terms of the fact that the way that you describe how music affects us as listeners, as people who are doing things to music, and then, of course, as music creators, really, really reflects my interaction with music and my experience with positive effects of music and my Parkinson's. But let's start first. I'd like to talk about your background first. So you are a pianist.
Yes, I studied piano and singing and actually double bass at music college. But I only ever wanted to teach. So I taught in schools. I've taught one-to-one piano pupils. I've trained choirs and I've accompanied other instrumentalists for concerts and exams.
So how many years did you teach?
In school, only about 35, but piano I have taught for 60 years.
Wow.
And I'm
That's more
still,
students than you could possibly count.
it's frightening, these big numbers. I've actually been playing the piano for 70 years.
Are you able to still play every day?
I aim to play every day, but sometimes I get involved in child-minding my 7-year-old grandson.
When did you first start feeling like there was something going on that was not the norm?
It was about 25 years ago when I first noticed I couldn't double-click on the computer mouse. A small thing, didn't spend a long time thinking about it. And then I had an impinged left shoulder. And then I had an impinged right shoulder. And then I had a twitch in my thumb. But it was when I was asked to demonstrate a new piano at a local church that they were thinking of buying. And I just grabbed some music and went along. But I sat down and tried to play. And I realized my right hand wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. It felt very sluggish and heavy. And I was embarrassed because there were people listening to me and I was sounding more like a beginner. And that really sent me off to the doctor to find out what was wrong. He thought that I had a trapped nerve in my neck and sent me for an MRI. The MRI came back clear. And I went to a physiotherapist who said that if I did the exercises she gave me, then all would be fine. And it wasn't. And then I went to the neurologist with a list of all the things that were concerning me. And he said, "You've diagnosed yourself." And I said, "For what?" And he said, "Parkinson's." And it was a total shock. I had not even considered Parkinson's, even though my grandmother, who was in the house when I grew up, had Parkinson's, and for 10 years she was an invalid. But I hadn't thought of it. So the rest of the consultation went totally over my head because I was in shock. I didn't know how I was going to cope with being an invalid. I like being in control. And I just grieved because I thought the future I had imagined would be my future was not going to anymore. And I fell apart really for a month or so. And I didn't play the piano because I thought, what's the point? I can't play it very well. And it would only be a reminder as I got worse and worse how limited everything was. So I was in a bad place for a month or two.
So how did you get out of that bad place? What happened? What did you do?
Well, I researched and I looked at all the normal things, diet and exercise and supplements. And then I thought, why am I not looking at music? Because music is my thing. So that's what the book came out of, my interest in finding all the ways music could help the symptoms of Parkinson's. And the book describes how I found that there were two characteristics that music has that makes it a good therapy. Firstly, it activates more of the brain than any other everyday activity. And this means that, for example, if a person had a trouble walking through a doorway, for example, and they froze, then if you play music to them, another part of the brain that also controls motor movements takes over and they can walk through a door with no problem. Or if someone has fascination, when they rush forward, then if you start some music up, they can stop, stand tall, and dance. It's quite incredible, the difference. And the other thing music has, it encourages entrainment. Entrainment is a word which means we want to align ourselves with the music. We want to synchronize with the music. So it's useful for stress and anxiety. If you play calming music at a slow beat, the blood pressure drops, the breathing slows, and the heart rate slows. And also in the Parkinson brain, the neurons that make the dopamine misfire. They're overactive or they're chronically erratic and sluggish and slow, quite a long time before they die. And this misfiring leads to the symptoms that we have. But if you play music, it normalizes the misfiring neurons and so eases the symptoms.
Before your diagnosis, you knew nothing about Parkinson's, and now you are such an expert. It's so inspiring to me, your energy and commitment to finding out information that not only benefits you, but benefits so many people.
Well, that's kind of you to say.
So in the beginning, you had kind of sluggishness, you said.
On my right side.
On your right side, any tremor?
Yes.
And tremor.
Not huge, but I had tremor.
Did you have the tremor before your diagnosis, or did the tremor happen after you had gotten diagnosed?
I had a bit of a tremor before diagnosis.
But you had your what you had noticed primarily was the sluggishness, that kind of bradykinesia.
Yes, the fact that my right hand couldn't play in time with my left.
You have absolutely described the beginning of my experience.
People said to me, just do some extra practice, it'll be fine. But extra practice just gets you familiar with the notes and builds up a bit of kinesthetic memory if you're normal. But with Parkinson's, you've got fatigue, you've got rigidity, and you've got bradykinesia.
That sluggishness is exactly what I started to feel 5 years ago. And then also, which was really interesting, was when I watched videos of myself conducting, my hands were not together, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize that at all. You're the first person that I've talked to that recognized the not being able to do the two hands together.
I would play a scale, but couldn't get my hands in sync.
So now, your diagnosis was 25 years ago.
No, 25 years ago was when I first saw symptoms.
Okay.
I had other symptoms, but I didn't realize they were Parkinson's, like my anxiety was off the scale. But I didn't know that was Parkinson at the time. I thought I was just being silly.
I, I, I'm feeling a little emotional because I feel such a connection with you because everything you describe has been my experience.
I used to go to the supermarket and start pushing my trolley round and have to abandon it because I was just so anxious. And I didn't admit to anybody because I thought it was just me being stupid.
Now, what led to the first book? Like, did you decide you were going to do this book? I'm going to write a book. How did that come about?
Well, it was a bit like an exercise. I had done my master's degree and PhD a few years before, so I was in the zone for research and study. And it was an exercise in let's see how many things I can find, how much research I can find that looks at music as medicine. So that's how it came about.
Could we just talk a little bit about your perception of the benefits of, first of all, of just listening to music? And then I'd like to talk a little bit about the benefits of doing stuff to music. You talked about, like walking to music, et cetera. And then I'm really interested in the third category, which is, participating in the creation of music, because for me, that has been the most powerful effect that I've had from music.
Right. So listening to music, I like now to have beaty music on in the kitchen when I'm working because I think the beat is good. It's supplying a regular beat to me to normalize things. Moving to music, when I go for a walk, I put headphones on and have very beaty music. So I choose music about 110 beats per minute. I would go faster, but Scotland is very hilly. And I set off at a speed of 120, then I get to a hill and I can't make it. So I tend to do 110. That means it's really easy on the flat or the downhill, but I can then cope with the hill. Playing, I think playing, once again, it's giving your body rhythm, but it's tactile as well as auditory. And I think that is helping the body.
When you play music, you feel better afterwards?
Yes. When you conduct music, do you feel better afterwards?
Absolutely. When you're playing music, do you only get a benefit when you play rhythmic music? Or do you feel a benefit when you play, because so much music is not rhythmic, it's more lyric and more rubato and more expressive. Do you get any benefit from playing that kind of music?
Well, I can feel calmer with a non-rhythmic piece. So that's
Yeah.
important. But I think if it's a beaty rhythmic music, you can feel quite high.
When I am really connected with the phrasing and the emotion of the music and connected with the musicians that are making music with me, I've had miraculous experiences where my symptoms go away almost completely.
Do you think this is down to the misfiring neurons?
I'm certainly no expert, but I am an expert in terms of my own personal experience. This creativity and aesthetic and emotional investment that's part of the creative process of making music. That's what I go for, because that's where I guess I'm getting I don't know whether I'm getting a dopamine dump from the experience. I don't know. But
Or are you activating another area of your brain?
that's what my goal is, to find somebody to help me figure that out. I absolutely appreciate the experience that one has listening to music, and I absolutely understand and appreciate the benefits of doing stuff to music. But what I believe needs more research and more investigation is this power of the creative process of making music on one's Parkinson's symptoms. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has had this experience of when you're really playing a beautiful phrase and you're putting your soul and your emotion into it, that's got to be releasing something or doing something in your brain. Because when I'm part of that experience, I feel better. So now I go for that in every rehearsal.
And it doesn't matter what piece you're playing, what style of music.
Well, I would say it does. I would say that the music that has more of
More
of an
emotional.
yes, or more energetic, or more opportunity for investment, that artistic investment. I'm searching for the vocabulary to use, because I'm not an esthetician. I don't, but I know what I feel and I know what I experience. And that's a really great question. No one has ever asked me that, but I think absolutely, it is music that has an emotional content to it, an opportunity for artistic and creative investment on the part of all of us involved, that I get the greatest benefit, without a doubt. I would say that I probably get a better benefit from non-rhythmic music, because it's the rhythmic fast tempos that I am most cognizant of my issues.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I will now consider everything I play and analyze the effect of it and compare.
So now you've written the first book. How did you come
And I
across?
just
Yep,
first book
there it is. I love that book.
and
One of
second
the
book.
And there's the second. Beautiful. So now, how did you come across the benefit of B1?
Back in 2017, when I had been diagnosed for 8 years, a friend sent me an article about an Italian neurologist called Dr. Costantini, who was giving his Parkinson patients high doses of thiamine, that's vitamin B1. And he was noticing that their symptoms improved up to 70%, and they were slowing or stopping the progression of Parkinson's. He watched them over 5 years. And I read this article and I thought, oh, yeah. I was a bit skeptical. But vitamin B1 is readily available, inexpensive, and safe. And so I thought I would get some and give it a go. Excuse me, I've got a dry throat. So I bought it, put it in my supplement pile, and just took it and didn't think any more about it. And after about 5 or 6 weeks, a friend popped in for a cup of coffee and a chat. And we were talking about what we've been doing. And I said that I had taken up a few things. I'd welcomed some of my piano pupils back, the ones I got rid of when I was diagnosed.
Mhm.
And I joined a language class and taken up watercolor painting and started training a choir. And she was flabbergasted. And I suddenly realized that whereas I had spent every afternoon laying on the bed because I was so fatigued, I now no longer had to do that. And I was taking up all these hobbies. So that was the first thing I noticed. The second thing I went for regular massages, and my therapist commented that my muscles had more give in them. The rigidity was going. So that was the second thing. Third thing was I smiled and I felt my muscles crinkle up here for the first time for years. And that was something. And then my husband and I went to a concert. And when the performance was over, I was prepared for the clapping my way, which was consciously moving my hands back and forth. And I found I could just clap. And that was, now I'm getting to think that something is up, or my handwriting became normal again, normal size, and I could keep writing without feeling tired. And the piano, of course, was so much easier. So I thought there must be something in this, and I've taken B1 ever since. And I haven't increased my medication for 8 years.
So you've been doing the B1 therapy for 8 years.
Yeah.
When you started, how long was it before you got to that point that you were identifying the benefits so obviously? How long did it take?
6 weeks before I realized the fatigue had gone, and 6 months before they all those things, and my sense of smell came back.
Wow.
But the thing is, you don't notice changes yourself. I know it sounds mad, but when you consider it takes us years before we realize we've lost 70% of our dopamine. So we just adjust. And I had just adjusted to everything. And it took my friends who said to me, "You're smiling up to your eyes," they said, "and you're moving better." I hadn't even noticed I was moving better.
Right.
One thing I noticed, I had a friend and I was talking to her, and I did that with my hands, and I froze and said, "I haven't been able to do that for years."
So at what point now did you realize that your next mission was to write this wonderful book about B1 therapy?
Well, I wanted to share what had benefited me, but I already was in a small way. There was a Facebook group looking at the B1 therapy, and I joined that. And every morning I used to write advice to people in answer to their posts. And really, the book was a question of, well, if I write a book, they can read the book and I can have more time at breakfast. But it hasn't worked out that way. I've now got my own Facebook group connected with the book, and 14,000 members. And I still spend half an hour every morning over breakfast answering the questions.
Well, clearly, it's making an impact on a lot of people. Well, let me ask you, I always finish my conversations with the same question, and that is if and when you have the opportunity to speak with someone who is just starting out on their Parkinson's journey, what words of wisdom might you share with them?
Don't panic. I think I would say first. There are a lot of things that people can do, and don't just listen to the doctors and take the medication. There are other things that the doctors don't know about that are perfectly safe and are of benefit.
That's so inspiring, absolutely inspiring.
The combination of music and B1 will have you totally sorted.
Well, that's what I want to be. I want to be sorted.